we're saving this story for last because it has to do with our friends for the Democrats. Don't worry, we got more segments to talk about. I'm not going to give up on you just yet. Okay, we're not done yet with segments, and stories for today. But look, we got to address the Democrats because they have a 50-state plan, but Bernie and AOC have no role in it. And before anyone asks, the Fight the Oligarchy tour, yes, it's still happening. And for those who think that this time Bernie and AOC are going to do it, that they're going to go all the way, no, they're not. I remember back in 2017 at the People's Summit when we interviewed Jimmy Dore about a third party, and Bernie Sanders now on April 27th, 2025, huge shout to Case Study QB, said no, they're not doing third parties. Okay, so first let's wake up to reality and see this. Let's go ahead and play it. Let's go ahead and play this. Let's check it out.
Let's talk about what you have called your oligarchy tour. You and Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez
Fight the Oligarchy tour
have been crisscrossing the country, warning of an emerging oligarchy. Senator, you told the New York Times, I'm going to read this quote, one of the aspects of this tour is to try to rally people to get engaged in the political process and run as independents outside of the Democratic Party. As someone who twice ran in the Democratic presidential primary, are you trying to strengthen the Democratic Party? Or, Senator, are you trying to start a third party?
No, we're not
That's a dumb question. He's going to say no. Just wanted to throw that out there.
trying to start a third party. What we're trying to do is strengthen American democracy, where faith in both the Democratic and Republican parties right now is extremely low. We are living, Kristen, in the richest country in the history of the world. And yet you got one person, Mr. Musk, who owns more wealth than the bottom 53% of American households. That is insane. That is oligarchy on steroids. Meanwhile, we have 60% of our workers living paycheck to paycheck. We have the highest rate of childhood poverty of almost any major nation on earth. And we have over 20% of seniors in America living on $15,000 a year or less.
Now, this is stuff that we've heard, Bernie Sanders say. This is stuff that we've heard Senator Sanders say all the time. I mean, this is nothing new. We have heard him talk like this before. Okay, so he's going to be talking about all this stuff, which he's never stood up for. Well, hold on. He's talked about, tried to fight for it, but it's never. So, like always, it's like a fart in the wind. Okay, that's it. That's it. That's all what Bernie is he's all yap, 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 yap. But when Biden, his good friend, was in office, I didn't see Bernie holding his feet to the fire or pushing him left. I didn't see that. And when it comes down to third parties, look, this is a blast from the past. Old school hard lens media interview, because I mentioned this before, was Jimmy Dore way back at the People's Summit in 2017.
Charismatic leader who has a clear agenda, and we have one. It's called Bernie Sanders. He has a clear agenda. He's the most popular.
Now, to be clear, this was from 2017, and people were hoping that Bernie would run for a third party. We were all disappointed at the end of the People's Summit.
Popular politician in the entire country. His agenda is the most popular agenda in the country. So we have that. Can we reform the Democratic Party from the inside? I don't think so. So I think I'm part of a thing called Draft Bernie. So we're trying to get Bernie to start a third party, because all major change in America really has come from third parties. When Abraham Lincoln became the president, the Republican Party wasn't even a national party. They were a regional party, but they had the better ideas, right? So the better ideas win. So Bernie has the better ideas, and I think what either happens is the Democratic Party gets absorbed into Bernie's party, or they do the opposite. They completely adapt and absorb Bernie and the progressives, and they change as a party. But they can't be changed from within. They have to have an outside pressure. If during the 2016 general election, if everybody who agreed with a Green New Deal voted for the Green New Deal, we would have a radically different country right now, because that would have been 20 to 25% of the electorate. The Democrats would have got 20% of the elect, and we would have been more popular than them. And the Democrats would have been either forced to change completely or be wiped out. But people got afraid, and they didn't vote their conscience, and they voted out of fear, and they voted out of hatred. And what do you get? If everybody would have voted for a Green New Deal, that believed in it, we still would have had Trump as president, except we'd have a radically different Democratic Party. So vote your conscience and stop voting for the lesser of two evil because you just get more evil. Yet at some point you have to make a break.
And so there you go. Shout out to Jimmy Dore. That was an old school interview. But see, no one's listening. Nobody's paying attention anymore because you got commercials like this. And guys, I want to be wrong. I want to be wrong about 2028, but I'm afraid.
Black and white and Latino, we are one.
Is this laying the groundwork for 2028? I mean, does she feel like the leader of the Democratic Party right now? I mean, she certainly is a leader.
She's not the leader of the party, but she does speak to things that matter to our voters in terms of the sky-high prices happening under this administration, in terms of the broken immigration system that we have, and a number of other things. She speaks to those. I do think that, look, she's very talented, and she does have a very powerful voice in terms of speaking to the things that matter to us. I don't know that she'll be the next president, but I do think she plays an important part right now in terms of driving the energy behind the party for the things that we care about the most, and standing up to Donald Trump, which is something that not enough people in the Democratic Party have done.
So on paper, it looks like the Democrats care. On paper, it looks like the Democrats have a strategy, but they don't know what their plan is. Because the thing is, it doesn't involve Bernie or AOC. Well, it does. It involves Bernie and AOC sheep herding people from the Fight Oligarchy tour, just like Dave Hogg is trying to do his own thing, or Cenk is trying to do his own thing with Rebellion PAC. And hey, let's bring people back into the Democratic Party. Let's dance off, pants off, everybody. Let's do it. No, let's not do that. Shall we not do that, please? The cherry on top? Because that's how people get suckered in. Okay, and in turn, of course, you're going to have the other side of the Democrats trying to wake people up to the fact of, oh, yeah, well, this all sounds good, but Bernie and AOC are definitely not the way. And so, the Democrats will have their corporate pick in 2028. It's going to be like WWE all over again.
We have seen quite a response to Senator Bernie Sanders and Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez going out, doing these rallies. Obviously, they are the more progressive brand of Democrat. It's the Fight the Oligarchy tour. It's been drawing big crowds. Do you think that their progressive politics is the way forward for the Democratic Party?
Well, look, I think on economics, and let's get back, I'm not sure, Jessica, by the whole premise. Yes, you're kind of a reflection in the sense of Washington, maybe right. But the Democrats just won every special election.
I hear you. Yeah, they're doing, yes.
And they outperformed it. So that's one. So wait, that's part of the analysis. The Democrats are actually doing quite well electorally. Second, I think as it relates, you got to decipher and distinguish both economic progressives versus kind of a cultural left progressive, where I think the party got way too identified with a woke culture and way too identified that was a priority, which cost us politically and electorally at the ballot box. On economics, and what I would also, beyond the rubber stamp, I would start focusing on the corrupt corporate cronyism coming out of the Trump White House. That is an economic message that happened.
Notice that that's the message. It's all about Trump. Trump. And again, this is who the Democrats are also circling around. Rahm Emanuel. Rahm Emanuel had to resign in 2019 because during the Chicago city elections, there was a cover-up with the Laquan McDonald shooting. Okay, it ended. It actually set a very interesting tone in Chicago, which is Rahm was the first mayor not to go for a third term. I mean, he was a two-term mayor. That's fine. But usually, and I hate saying this, folks, maybe it's because I am so scarred with the fact that we had not one, but two mayors rule over the city together for 40 plus years, Old Man Daley and Daley Jr. There are no term limits for Chicago mayor. And since Rahm Emanuel's stepping down, Lori Lightfoot was a one-term mayor. And in my opinion, my perspective alone, and everyone's entitled to an opinion, I think Mayor Brandon Johnson will also be a one-term mayor. So there you go. But I also want to pull this up here because, see, the Democrats, you have people like Pritzker who are now encouraging more, quote-unquote, resistance and protesting. You would think that they would be more in line with what Bernie and AOC are selling, but that's the game. You have the professional Democrats and then the quote unquote AOC and Bernie Sanders Democrats leading in people who are progressives and independents, who are afraid, who have nowhere to go to, no outlet, and in turn get them right back into the abusive relationship with the Democrats.
Never before in my life have I called for mass protests, for mobilization, for disruption, but I am now. These Republicans cannot know a moment of peace. They have to understand that we will fight their cruelty with every megaphone and microphone that we have. We must castigate them on the soapbox and then punish them at the ballot box.
Notice how everyone's clapping. But the thing is, what do the Democrats stand for? That's the issue.
We're starting to see some more energy on the Democratic side. We've noted the Bernie Sanders AOC tour and the big crowds that's gathering, but there's still a sense of sort of internal dissension and a lot of finger pointing post-November. What went wrong then, but also, more importantly, what is our message now? And we're seeing no sense of agreement on that. And more Democrats.
And the brand, it's not just about infighting. The Democratic brand remains pretty low and suggests that they've got a tremendous opportunity to walk through this door that's opening up for them. I'm not sure if they know how to do it yet.
Yeah, I talked to a prominent Democrat over the weekend who said to me, I'm not sure what we stand for right now. I'm not sure what this party is. It can't just be opposing Donald Trump. And they've been successful at that. We'll get into that in a moment. But there is an opportunity, but there's also sort of real dissent here, confusion as to just what should be the message, what should be the brand, what should be their identity.
You know what their identity is? It's a 50-state strategy. Okay, it's a 50-state strategy, right? The DNC plans a new 50-state as chair rebukes. Again, the DNC chair rebukes David Hogg's plan for pushing against Democrat incumbents. David Hogg is going to get a phone call from the Democrat leadership. You cannot just go after the incumbents, okay? That's very, very true, okay? Let's go ahead and play this. I mean, you just can't go up against the establishment Democrats.
We are sending a strong message that our party is building from the ground up, and we're building everywhere. I want to win elections, and you win elections in the states.
Yes, Lightfoot, yeah. She was mayor for one term. Everybody hated her. Take a look at Brandon Johnson, CB Applejack 59. If you want, I'll be more than happy to share with you articles, or you could do it yourself too, my friend, and you will see something very shocking. And I'm willing to bet I will get a message from you and you will say, my goodness, Brandon Johnson is hated more than Lightfoot. And it's true. You got to be an all-star professional to be hated more than Lori Lightfoot. Lori Lightfoot was not popular in Chicago. And to be clear here, when she got elected in, she won by a landslide victory. And yes, voter turnout was very low, but she won all of Chicago. During her time, the whole city hated her. It didn't take long for this city to hate her. Brandon Johnson's dealing with the same thing too. In my opinion, he's a one-term mayor.
So that's where the DNC will invest our resources.
That was Democratic National Committee Chair Ken Martin announcing the party's plan to ramp up financial contributions to state parties, especially in Republican-controlled states. This is a redux of the 50-state strategy that many Democrats credit with their decisive victories in the 2006 and 2008 elections. But threatening to overshadow that news, DNC Vice Chair David Hogg, who says he plans to spend millions primarying incumbents in safe seats that he deems, quote, ineffective. The announcement has created division between Hogg and Chair Ken Martin. David Corn and Joe Walsh are back with.
Now, again, the new DNC chair wants good billionaires. Now, let's talk about our good billionaires. Well, good billionaires at one point used to be people like Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, and yes, even Donald Trump. What do all those four people have in common? They used to donate money to Democrats.
With us.
I think, Simone, you're a former DNC member.
I am.
I think that what David Hogg is doing is part of and can be part of that 50-state strategy in the sense that you're looking to evaluate all of your races, and where you could, to the chairman's point, he really, at the end of the day, has two jobs: raise money, win elections. And the money he raises, like I did when I was the RNC chairman, he's putting into states that ordinarily wouldn't get that money. At the same time, you have a leader inside the party saying, okay, as we do that, we also need to look at where we possibly could make a change and win. That's the tension as I read it right now. Am I off there, or how do you see it?
I think the biggest macro tension is that the chair has one thought.
It's the macro and the micro, everyone. The micro and the macro.
About how their business should be conducted, and you've got a vice chair that has another thought about how business should be conducted. And the vice chair did not get permission from the chair, if you will. Just gave the chair a heads up, which is very different. You know, sometimes when I swipe that joint credit card, I give my husband a heads up that I already swiped it. When he would prefer that I'm like, hey, just want you to know it's a charge.
But,
can I do this?
It's the job of the chairman to basically serve the status quo. I mean, by definition, he's voted by the people in the status quo, and I can see the gravitational pull of that, right? But if you look at the Democratic Party as a brand, everyone likes to talk about the brand, it's in a hole. It's not doing well. There needs to be some degree of disruption internally. It's not just about fighting the Republicans, which they certainly could do a better job of doing, but I think they need a little bit of a shakeup. And if, David and Ken can sit in a room together and talk this out without throwing things at each other, that's actually good for the party. The party needs to be in all these 50 states. It needs to also bring more energy and different people into its ranks. And that means some of the olds and some of the others have to make room.
Well, I just want to note that what currently is happening inside the party is that they are talking about putting into the bylaws of the Democratic National Committee changes that put neutrality in the bylaws, which means that David Hogg would not be able to serve in his role as vice chair if he continued to pursue his plan. Because,
and you know what that means? We're going to cut her off here because there's only so much I could sit through corporate media. Case study could be you're built differently. I give you a full salute. You know what this means? It means that David Hogg's plan is going to blow up in his face, whether he was sincere or not. If he was sincere about this, he should immediately resign and go forth with his agenda. There's no way the Democrat Party is ever going to allow anyone or any entity or any group to try and change up their own party. All right, Justice Democrats tried that, and what happened to Cenk Uygur and Kyle Kulinski when they started that? They got kicked out, and that really sucked. All right, I didn't like it. Me and Daniel did not like that when that happened way back early on in the Justice Democrats' infancy. Okay, brand new Congress tried that. Boom, failed. Our Revolution tried that. Remember Bernie Sanders? Our Revolution failed. DSA tried that, failed. You cannot reform something that doesn't want to be reformed. Must I pull out that same joke again? It's like having the bear eat you and thinking you could change the bear on the inside. No, the bear's going to take a morning dump when he's done eating you. That's it. You're going to go inside the bear's stomach. It'll chew you up and then crap you right out. That's what will happen. That's the Democrats. That's their plan. That's their policy. So all this talk about AOC's Fight the Oligarchy tour, or is it at Cenk's Rebellion PAC? I mean, it has no leg to stand on. It is a failure of everyone realizing, especially with this whole idea of hopium copium that Bernie Sanders and AOC are doing, it is something that is not effective. It is something that's destined for failure, and it's going to blow up in people's faces. Democrats' overall plan is Trump, impeach Trump, and hey, we're better than Trump. That's what we're going to run on for the midterms. They're going to try and get the Senate and House, and they're going to be running on impeachment. They're going to be asking you for money.
If you fool me once, it's because I didn't think a guard was needed. If you fool me twice, it's because I didn't learn the lesson, so it bears repeating. If you try the same play 3 times running, it's because you know what's coming, and you didn't come to lead, you came to purposefully be misleading. Democracy is dry. It's been a century bleeding. The husk is gaping open to the sky, out in the field where all the sheep just keep on circling and worrying and bleeding. They're waiting for the shepherd that they've tried to hide their faith in, but he's so appealing. They'd gladly give their fleece. It's such a freeing feeling. that even when he leads them to the ledge and starts to urge them on, they're positively beaming. They were told that they were on their way to save democracy, so even as they plummet, they just gloat. They don't consider screaming. And halfway up the cliff, the shepherd's cozy little mittens wrap around the staff of shattered human hopes on which he's leaning. He shows the gentle grin that used to stir your inner spark, and he says, "Not me, us," as he gestures to the oligarchs. He knows that if he runs, they're going to stop him like a stolen car. And he'll easily surrender because it bought a lot of time for laying mines in all the grassroots. Suddenly, the tiniest of movements gets you blown apart. Suddenly, you're in a play that's set on an election day and voting for the fire, unaware you're playing Joan of Arc. Suddenly, the shepherd pulls the rug and slips a hood across your clueless mug, and everything goes zero dark. I'm gonna warn you once more before it's 2024 and you fuck around and find out who your heroes are. To take a step back from the herd and you'll learn that you can spot who all the shearers are. If you really want to know the product that they're selling, I can take you where the mirrors are. If you think your voice is finally ready, I can tell you where the lyrics are. I hid them in a box I had to bury neath the cobble when they carpet bombed the promenade and raided all the street bazaars. Now all we've got's the marketplace, and you're too broke to even bother asking what the options for your treatment are. Suddenly, the raw debris of homeless human dignity will find it has 100 teeth for every badge and sweeper's arm. Suddenly, they speak in solidarity and each is armed. Suddenly, the sheep can see the shepherd for his truest form and all pitch in at once to help him buy the farm. And now it's zero dark. And all is calm and peaceful save the distant wail of sirens that approach beside the flames of dawn. Suddenly, the carrot's just a string that's on a stick, and all your movements make you sick because the prize is gone. Now, we could go and flee into the forest low and meek, or we could exercise our right to feast and go and graze on Biden's lawn. Because he's been sowing seeds that seep a toxin out to sap a bit from each of us and keep on leaching decades after Biden's gone. So regardless who they summon out of hell to come and do the job, it will not feel like Biden's gone. But in that time of hopelessness, you cannot trust the shepherd when he once again comes asking you to humor him his siren song. And it's cute that you can innocently, honestly assume that's just a symptom of a system that was wired wrong, and not the standard feature, basic function, primary objective of a mass hypnosis firebomb. You don't need to know the words to cry along. Someday it'll hit you like an officer who pistol whipped their ride along. Broke his jaw and kept his job and kept it moving right along. That voting isn't red or blue or black or white or right or wrong. Voting's like a firing squad where you can choose the firearm. It's slow extinction by and large. It's Super Tuesday supercharged. It's all your futures, roots and all, just tossed out on a garbage barge. It's everybody dropping out to push the biggest oligarch. It's everybody voting fire, registered as Joan of Arc.